Europe is at a crossroads as the question of migration increasingly becomes a focal point of societal tensions, a complex interplay of established rights, democratic principles, and cultural values is causing a surge in conflicts across the continent. This escalating situation is not just about immigration. It's about how nations navigate the preservation of their identities while respecting the human rights of those seeking refuge. As anti-immigrant sentiment intensifies, the stakes are higher than ever for both the European Union and its neighboring countries, including the UK. On July the 29th, the tranquility of a small town in the UK was shattered by a tragic incident at a Taylor Swift-themed dance and yoga event. 3 young girls, full of life and innocence, became victims of a senseless knife attack. The attacker, a 17-year-old boy, also injured 8 other children and 2 adults. This incident, which should have been a rare and isolated tragedy, quickly spiraled into a nationwide crisis. In the immediate aftermath, social media buzzed with unverified claims that the suspect was an asylum seeker who had arrived in the UK on a boat in 2023. Whether true or not, this speculation unleashed a wave of anger that had been simmering beneath the surface. By the next day, the town of Southport became the epicenter of violent outbursts. A local mosque was targeted as bricks, bottles, and other projectiles were hurled at the building and police trying to protect it. The situation escalated when a police van was set on fire, marking the beginning of a wider unrest. The violence soon spread like wildfire across the UK. Major cities like London, Manchester, and Liverpool were engulfed in riots, with scenes of chaos reminiscent of past civil unrest. In Northern Ireland, the violence took on a particularly troubling character, with attacks on places of worship and accommodations housing asylum seekers. The unrest left a trail of destruction, including burnt cars, damaged buildings, and looted shops, reflecting the deep divisions within the society. The UK government, newly elected on a platform of strong law and order, responded swiftly.
This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online.
The police made numerous arrests, and special forces were deployed to prevent further escalation. However, for many involved in the riots, these actions only deepened their sense of betrayal.
Nothing's done for them. You see them all on the streets. You know, it's a shame. It's them a fault for this country.
It'll be dangerous for them in the future. They'll have no facilities to use, you know, they don't get a doctor's appointment.
They keep saying immigrants welcome. Where are they going to put them? Are they going to house them?
They saw themselves as patriots defending a British way of life that they felt was under threat. Their anger was fueled by the belief that unchecked immigration was contributing to rising crime and social instability, and that their concerns were being ignored by the political elite. Ireland, too, has not been immune to this wave of unrest. In November 2023, the streets of Dublin witnessed scenes of violence as buses and trams were set ablaze and shops were looted. The unrest was sparked by a stabbing attack outside a school that left 3 children injured, an act attributed to a migrant. The attack ignited long-standing grievances over the perceived strain that immigrants were placing on local communities and resources. As demonstrations spread across the country, often erupting into violence, the Irish government found itself struggling to maintain order. The tension in Ireland escalated further in July 2024 when a group of asylum seekers from Somalia and Palestine, living in makeshift tents in central Dublin, were attacked. Although no one was injured, the incident was a stark reminder of the growing hostility towards immigrants in the country.
Just fed up with the Irish government.
Are you far right?
No, I am a concerned father.
The attackers, by slashing tents and throwing them into the River Liffey, symbolically rejected the presence of these newcomers in their city. In Germany, a similar narrative is unfolding. The city of Mannheim, typically a peaceful place with a significant immigrant population, was rocked by an attack in which a man wielding a knife stabbed 6 people, including a police officer. The attacker was identified as an immigrant, a detail that sparked outrage and calls for tougher immigration policies. This incident is a broader pattern across Germany, where public opinion is increasingly turning against the country's once welcoming stance on immigration. This shift in sentiment was underscored by a disturbing revelation in January 2024, when an investigative report uncovered plans discussed by members of the German extreme right. These extremists proposed the mass expulsion of millions of people, including German citizens, to a designated zone in northern Africa. Their goal? to cleanse Germany of what they termed as ethnic dilution. Although these views represent a fringe, they highlight the growing polarization and the extreme measures some are willing to consider in response to immigration. Nordic fear. Moving northward, the Scandinavian countries are also grappling with the pressures of increased immigration. Traditionally known for their social cohesion and high standards of living, countries like Sweden, Denmark, and Finland are now facing unprecedented challenges. In October 2023, the leaders of Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland announced a unified approach to address the issue of illegal immigration. The primary goal is to strengthen cooperation in returning illegal migrants to their countries of origin, a policy that reflects the growing unease in the region. Sweden, in particular, has seen its image as a peaceful nation severely tarnished by a surge in gang violence, much of which has been linked to migrant communities. The number of fatal shootings in Sweden reached a record high in 2023, a development that has shocked the nation and raised serious questions about the integration of migrants. Similar concerns are being voiced in Denmark, where the threat of violence from Islamic extremists has led to heightened fears and the reintroduction of controversial laws, such as those related to blasphemy, which many see as a capitulation to the demands of Denmark's growing migrant population.
Do you like it here?
I like it here, and I don't want to move in any place.
Finland says Russia has been deliberately funneling asylum seekers to the crossings, with 300 people, mostly from Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and Somalia, arriving this week.
In Finland, the situation is complicated by geopolitical factors. In 2023, Finland was forced to shut its border with Russia on 2 occasions, accusing its neighbor of facilitating the passage of thousands of non-European migrants into Finland. The incident highlighted the vulnerability of even the most stable and well-organized countries in the face of global migration pressures. Fear is the key. Across Europe, fear is becoming a powerful force in shaping political outcomes. In country after country, voters are increasingly turning to populist parties that promise to protect them from the perceived threats posed by immigration. These parties have gained significant footholds in governments in Italy, Slovakia, Sweden, and the Netherlands. In other countries like Germany, Austria, and France, politicians who campaign on anti-immigration platforms are seeing growing support as citizens worry that their way of life is under threat. Italy's experience offers a telling example of this trend.
Thousands of people have landed on the small Italian island.
Compared that to 2021, it's 4 times the number. Thousands of refugees now.
The European Union's immigration arrived yesterday, set off through the night.
The tiny island of Lampedusa, located just over 62 miles off the coast of Tunisia, has become a key entry point for migrants seeking to enter Europe. In 2023 alone, more than 10,000 people landed on the island, overwhelming its resources and prompting the Italian government to take drastic measures. Italy has since partnered with Albania to establish processing centers for asylum seekers intercepted at sea, a move aimed at controlling the flow of migrants and preventing the island from being overrun. In France, the upcoming Paris Summer Olympics has brought the issue of immigration to the forefront. In the months leading up to the event, France grappled with how to manage the thousands of homeless immigrants residing in the capital.
Authorities are social cleansing Paris, giving migrants and unhoused people a one-way ticket to the outskirts.
Paris has seen a proliferation of tents and impromptu shelters under bridges or on unoccupied land, which authorities periodically dismantle only for them to reappear elsewhere. To prepare for the Olympics and to manage the growing number of migrants, the French government dispersed these temporary shelters, relocating the occupants to the interior of the country. In an effort to ease their transition, some were even offered temporary stays in hotels at the state's expense. However, this solution has not been without controversy. Local communities, already stretched thin, voiced their concerns that these newly relocated immigrants would place additional burdens on their limited resources. The dispersion of migrants only added fuel to the already heated debate over immigration in France. The country had been seeing protests and demonstrations in the wake of several high-profile attacks involving foreigners. In June 2023, a Syrian refugee wounded 6 people, including 4 young children, in an attack on a playground. In October 2023, a school teacher was fatally stabbed, and in 2022, an illegal Algerian immigrant who was subject to an expulsion order was involved in the tragic death of a 12-year-old girl in Paris. The situation was further exacerbated by the 2020 beheading of a school teacher, an event that shocked the nation. These incidents have led to widespread calls for France to take a tougher stance on immigration, with many arguing that stronger measures are needed to protect French citizens. Extreme force. As anti-immigrant sentiment hardens across Europe, so too does the response from governments. Security forces in several countries have ramped up their efforts to control immigration, deploying whatever measures they deem necessary to stem the tide of illegal refugees. The EU border agency Frontex, along with the Greek and Italian coast guards, have significantly increased patrolling and deployment in the Mediterranean, where boatloads of migrants arrive daily. While these agencies are often criticized for their tactics, it's important to recognize the immense challenges they face in balancing humanitarian concerns with border security. The human cost of seeking refuge in Europe is staggering. Since 2014, more than 29,500 migrants have lost their lives attempting to cross the Mediterranean, according to the UN's International Organization for Migration.
I don't know others, but my family, I must tell them to stop. Don't try this way. Don't try it.
Despite the dangers, countless others continue to make the journey, driven by desperation and the hope of a better life. In 2023 alone, Frontex helped rescue 43,000 people at sea, a testament to the scale of the crisis and the efforts being made to save lives. The debate over immigration is complex, and there are no easy answers. Legal immigrants who follow the rules often contribute positively to their new communities, integrating and enriching the cultures they join. However, illegal immigration presents a different set of challenges. When individuals bypass legal channels and enter a country unlawfully, they place a strain on society and the economy, leading to tensions with the local population. As these challenges continue to unfold, the people of the European Union are increasingly making their voices heard, demanding that their governments take action to control immigration and protect their way of life. Are we witnessing the beginning of a deeper divide that will redefine the continent's future?